And we're live on Wednesday, August 14th for the core team meeting. Our first urgent issue is that next week the meeting is canceled because of RustConf, and the week after that our time slot is changing to Friday 5:30 to 6 Eastern time. Nico, could you adjust the calendar invite? I think it's yours.
Sure.
Okay. The next urgent problem is the async await delay and check-in meeting retro. Florian, anything else you want to say about that?
Yeah, just wanted to quickly raise. Last week we had the situation that we had the check-in meeting, and most of the issues that have blocked the async await stabilization this week have already been known, and we kind of had a look at them and were like, is this moving? No one from Core and Lang were there though this is no accusation. We could also have followed up with them, but we didn't. So which led to this week everything becoming unclear and a little bit in a rush. So I would just like to raise this as a thing that we could use to inspect what we actually want from the sync meeting and what we expect around what is discussed and what information should flow, and how do we react if we feel like some information is missing. Do we follow up? What is the action we get out of that? So it's not particularly on async await. It's just I think this is a good point to investigate what we want from it.
I think we should do that, but probably, I don't know if I want to do it in the scope of this meeting, but does it make sense to schedule, like, would this be an opportunity to have a longer meeting, do you think, on how to do Rust project management, or should we look more narrowly?
How do others feel? Like, we could also do this async and write it down somewhere. I don't know.
That meeting is to be short and tiny, so whenever a bigger concern is falling out of the meeting, people should talk about it later, potentially scheduling another meeting. We can also like encourage people to keep that time slot after that free, so that if you want to do this, you can really do this like that if necessary.
Oh, it's not about less about how, if we want to change the meeting or if we want to extend it or whatever. It's just that I think there was this interesting thing of people have noticed that and didn't follow up. And on the other hand, people that could have informed us that next week probably we're not going to hit the deadline, that message didn't get through. I don't know if it was even like people even had that in their head. Yeah, so it's more like, what do we do if certain patterns arise? Do we follow up?
In general, I think it would have been ideal, like the information sort of available to you. It would have been nice if we were just sort of posting these updates in general, not just through the meeting, perhaps, and more regularly of like, here's the number of bugs. I think in particular, I'm a little bit unsure about how we should handle dates. I think one of the challenges around async await especially was that kind of very early on, we were projecting release dates, probably way earlier than we were really in a position to make that. And those became somewhat like commitments in a certain sense. And that caused a lot of stress on, are we going to make that commitment or not? And that may or may not have been even so wise.
I would put that out of scope for this discussion because it's not about async await specifically. It's more like, do we want to use the sync meeting for example, finding things that are off or things that might not happen, or do we want people to make an effort to, for example, use the sync meeting to warn people ahead that, oh, by the way, async await might not happen, so prepare for that if you're on Reddit or whatever. I don't know, so that you know about it. There was just I think a lot of unclarity in the room, and I believe, and Mark, you were in the meeting as well, I believe we could have caught that with a little more effort. yeah.
So I will say that, at least from my perspective, last week, I thought that there was maybe not a huge possibility of us shipping on time, but the possibility was there. So that's part of why I wasn't like throwing up red flags or anything.
So maybe that wasn't clear to everyone, because it definitely wasn't clear to me. I had the impression from the meeting that it came up as, okay, there's still some stuff, might still make it.
So I think it's not worth relitigating exactly what happened at last week's meeting. But I think the larger point that this is the kind of thing we want to get out of this meeting is very true. Like, I think this is a perfect example of the kind of cross-team interaction that has been missing a bit in the Rust project. And this is the meeting is a good opportunity for that to happen. Also, perhaps that, like, there will be times when things happen faster than every 2 weeks or every week, and that we should have other means of communication. But, like, you know, given that the meeting, we've only had a few issues of the meeting and people have been like away and teams haven't figured out who is going to be their representative every week, including the core team. Like, I think this is kind of the learning pains that we should expect.
I'm completely fine with that, but that's why I find it good that we can address it now, because it's learning pains.
I think my takeaway would be, Florian, also that so it would have been good to highlight that it matters a lot to you, like that you're starting to depend on this and you would like to know both directions. I don't mean this personally, of course, but like we should try to keep people abreast of what's happening in the meeting, but also on the other side, if we're coming to rely on something, let them know that we're relying on that so that they're aware that we would like updates. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point, reminding people on how others get use out of this so to avoid that they feel like they just have to do it because they need to write some points there and show progress. I think that's not the point.
So just to bring this back up to the meta level, being conscious of the time, I think what we want to get out of this is we probably want some guidelines we're going to send to the teams, and that we'll come up with those async.
Yes, that sounds good.
Does that sound like a good conclusion?
Yes.
Cool.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. Okay. The action items, tasks to check in on section. I'm seeing a couple of crossed off things. So the crossed off governance, I don't think we need to discuss. And you see a note for Steve, and he's not here. We just talked about the team-wide stand-up meeting. The only note there is that there's a note that Nico is to invite Secure Code and gaming working groups and get them on the website.
I did invite them. I forgot the website part of things though, so leave it on there and I'll put that on my to-do list for this one.
Sounds good. Thank you. The next item is staged RFC, staged design, and I believe Nico was going to write something up before vacation, and I don't think that happened, so that is still there. Legal issues, Florian.
2 quick updates. I talked to Sean Grief at Grief this today, and they've got GDPR and DMCA stuff done. They also went a little further and came up with the GDPR policies for everything that we have, also websites and all these kind of things, because it seems to have been like, let's just do this in one go. So it isn't crossed off, but it has made a lot of progress. Then there's the licensing copyright clarity issue. I must say there's starting a discussion of people that start with, I know nothing about licenses, but, and that tends
Which is exactly why I put it on the list for this to be raised to lawyers who know something about licenses.
Exactly, that's why I would quickly get started with that and take that over. It doesn't help to get that into another discussion about what people believe how open source licenses work. Yeah, so I would maybe check up on that after RustConf I'm pretty sure I can't do that before. Anyone else wants to take it?
Okay, next item is white papers. Anything there, Florian?
No.
Okay. How's the core team RustConf talk going, Florian?
The RustConf talk is doing good. We submitted the proposal with some minor edits, especially putting less emphasis on the pastime, like NRC said, to RustConf, and we're writing it, though Steve is currently traveling for another conference.
Okay, and I see the community subteam. Florian, you left a note that this is pushed after RustConf. Manish and Florian, website slogan modification, anything there?
Same.
No, okay.
Basically.
RustConf, Manish, how is it going? And do you need anything from us last minute?
I think it's going fine. We added some more trainings, and yeah, stuff is going good. Yeah. Oh, remember that there are a bunch of production users meeting on the training day in the same venue. So if any of you want to hang out there, we can like set that up. They're just going to be talking about their needs and stuff, and like probably coming up with something to bring to the Rust teams eventually. But I'm gonna just be there to listen, and yeah.
Can I jump in there? It's enterprise users. They were pretty strong about enterprise.
Large enterprise users, yeah.
Yeah, because they just, as a warning, they might kick smaller companies out if their space runs out. So
yeah, it's
just
for
that
like large company, large code base issues, which are kind of unique. So yeah.
And we had a note there to think about having a core team table, but think about the goal of it. I'm not even going to RustConf, but I'm going to say everyone's going to be too busy to do that.
Yeah.
I'm deciding for you. You all are not doing this. You're welcome. Okay, the survey for the planning the All Hands 2020 went out. Florian, anything to mention on that, or you gave people longer?
I gave them some time until, well, deadline was tomorrow. I gave them a little more time until the weekend. But we got 50 people that responded, and the responses are unsurprising. I'm just not sure if everyone has filled the form, but I would expect the All Hands to grow like at the rate that it was growing, another 10 to 20 people or something like that. So we can definitely get started talking to venues. And I have made it very clear in the second email, if people don't respond, we will judge by those numbers. And if we misjudge the numbers, we just have to make hard decisions who's allowed to come and who not. Okay, that's my update.
It might be worth repeating like that to people, like that potentially everyone who's on like a team or working group would be invited, because I know that like every year people are like, oh, I didn't know I could come to the All Hands. So it might, if we're not getting as many replies as we thought, then it might be worth like restating that.
Okay, so I might send another email to All Ad that if you are part of All Ad, you're eligible.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the end of our open part of the agenda. Anything else to talk about?
Oh, just one thing about the venue planning. We should be fast, given that like if we're going to be talking to other companies for this, we probably will need some like we will probably need to get something to said quickly. But on the plus side, at least the companies I talked to, it did not seem like it was like the number of people we're thinking is much smaller than the number of people where they actually need to care about, oh, we need bigger rooms, like so from the point of view of like people joining last minute, if we're using a like large company's venue, this will probably not be an issue. This will probably be easy to scale up.
Okay. I guess 80 to 90, if they have space for that, would be good.
Okay, so if you could switch the recordings, Manish.